Hi, welcome to Polyphonic Press. I'm Jeremy Boyd, and today I'm going to be taking a look at the debut album by the Jimi Hendrix Experience, entitled Are You Experienced? After being discharged from the army, Jimi Hendrix was a side musician for various R&B acts including Wilson Pickett, Sam Cooke, and most notably Little Richard. But by the mid-1960s, he was feeling frustrated simply being a backup musician, and he wanted to expand his horizons. Taking an interest in Jimi Hendrix was a former bassist for the Animals, Chas Chandler. He quickly signed him as his first client to his management company and convinced Hendrix to move to England. While in England, Hendrix and Chas Chandler put together the Jimi Hendrix Experience with drummer Mitch Mitchell and bassist Noel Redding. While still playing shows in the UK and having a residency at the Café Wa in Greenwich Village in New York City, they began recording their debut album in October of 1966. Between the fall and winter of 1966 and the spring of 1967, the band worked tirelessly to perfect their sound and create something unique in the studio. Finally, on May 12, 1967, Are You Experienced was released in the UK. This album features many of Hendrix's best-known musical compositions, including Purple Haze, Foxy Lady, Fire, and of course the title track, Are You Experienced? That title track, Are You Experienced, features some very unique production styles for the time. About a year earlier, the Beatles released the song Rain, which for the first time ever, you heard a backwards recording on an official release. They expanded on this by making the guitar part and the guitar solo backwards throughout the whole song, and they initially were going to just loop the guitar part and play it backwards, but they had trouble syncing it up, so Jimi Hendrix had to actually go into the studio and perform the song for 3.5 minutes backwards. And I can tell you, as a guitar player who has tried to do this is almost impossible. It's really difficult to do. So you have to really know what you're doing on the guitar in order to pull this off. Another interesting thing they did in terms of production is on the song Third Stone from the Sun. If you listen to it regularly, it's seemingly an instrumental track. But if you listen closely, you hear this kind of slowed down voice, and that's exactly what it is. When you speed the song up to 78 RPM, you hear a conversation between a space explorer and a mission control. It's really one of the only instances that I know of that you can enjoy the song at regular speed as well as sped up to 78 RPM. It's really cool and really unique. You can enjoy it as an instrumental track, or you can enjoy it as to hear the conversation, and if you speed it up. It's really cool and sort of a cool Easter egg on this album. The song The Wind Cries Mary was released as a radio single, and the purpose of this was to showcase Jimi Hendrix's songwriting prowess. He had really gained a reputation as a bombastic, loud, hard guitar player. But he was also very interested in songwriting and the craft of songwriting. One of his biggest influences was actually Bob Dylan, and you know this because he has probably one of the most famous covers of a Bob Dylan song with All Along the Watchtower. So yes, he is an amazing guitar player and does all these crazy things, lighting his guitar on fire and all this cool stuff, but at the end of the day, he's really a diverse performer and really captures the essence of what it means to be a singer, songwriter, guitar player. He really has all his bases covered. It's just a beautiful track, and it's probably one of my favorite songs of all time. It's of course a love song, and it just has that quality that you really don't get very often. And his voice really fits perfectly these lyrics and the melody, and it's just a great song, and I think it's a really underrated song in Jimi Hendrix's catalog. I think perhaps my favorite song on this album is the last song that appears, and that's Red House, and it's this slow blues song that I always assumed was a cover, but I actually recently found out that it's a Jimi Hendrix original, and that is not surprising to me. Jimi Hendrix really is at the heart of it a blues guitarist. He's at the forefront of hard rock, but it all goes back to the blues, and he knows this, and he recognizes that that's his roots. So when he pulls out a song like Red House or Little Wing, which is on the next album, he is very aware of his influence and where rock music comes from. And he doesn't try to hide or run from his roots. He celebrates it, but also expands on it. It's really difficult to know what Jimi Hendrix's best known song is, because all of their songs really have become so iconic, especially with classic rock radio, but I really think it's probably Purple Haze. I think that's the song that people think of when they think of Jimi Hendrix. When you hear that opening riff, and the way the guitar sounds, you know exactly what it is the second it happens. And it's just amazing when the groove comes in with Mitch Mitchell and Noel Redding just laying down the foundation. And I really think on this album, the Jimi Hendrix Experience sort of perfected the power trio. I know that Cream came out a year earlier, and I think Eric Clapton himself would admit that when he heard Hendrix for the first time, he knew that he had to step up his game as a guitar player. And Cream became a much more interesting band because of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And I think they really became a unit. I mean, Hendrix is of course the star, but without Noel Redding and Mitch Mitchell, he wouldn't sound like the way he sounds. They really are a unit and a band in their own right. This album is an amazing journey from beginning to end, and it goes through all these different styles. It's like pop with Wind Cries Mary, it's heavy rock with Purple Haze, it's psychedelic with Third Stone from the Sun. All these different styles don't feel out of place on this album. They all make sense within the context of the record and within the year that it was released. This is one of my favorite albums of all time, and I think it's really one of the first cases of heavy metal and hard rock. I think Jimi Hendrix really pushed the boundaries of guitar, of what a guitar could do, and really almost influenced every other guitar player that came after him. He influenced the birth of heavy metal. He influenced, and every hard rock guitar player will tell you that without Hendrix, I don't think heavy metal would probably exist, but I don't think it would sound quite the way that it does. So this is a very important album. If you're a rock fan and you're not familiar with this album, definitely pick it up, check it out, and yeah, it's just an amazing journey from beginning to end. I can't say enough good things about this album. So anyway, that's my take on the Jimi Hendrix Experience's first album, Are You Experience? Thank you very much for watching. Feels great to be back, and I'll see you guys next time. Take it easy.